The cake hit the floor with a wet smack. It was a perfect red velvet, white frosting piped with my name in careful script. I had just leaned in to blow out the candles when my wife's hand swept across the table and knocked it off the stand. Gasps echoed for a second, but then laughter took over. Not mine. Her family erupted like it was some slapstick bit on a comedy show. Her sister clapped. Her cousin wheezed with amusement. And my wife, she leaned in close, her eyes sharp, her lips curled in a cruel smile. "Eat it off the ground," she said sweetly, like she was offering me dessert. I didn't move, not a flinch, not a sound. I stared at the red and white mess on the floor, and then at her. She looked radiant, pearls on her neck, wine in her hand, surrounded by the people who had always made me feel like a stranger in my own life. We'd been married 6 years, 6 long years of slowly learning which topics to avoid, which jokes to pretend were funny, which boundaries to let erode. But nothing had prepared me for that moment. It wasn't just a prank. It wasn't just a bad joke. It was the moment I understood I was the entertainment, the punching bag, the full. I looked around the table. No one met my gaze. Not her mother, who had always found subtle ways to remind me I wasn't good enough. Not her brother, who treated me like an unpaid intern at every family event. And certainly not my wife, who once told me I was lucky she took a chance on someone like me. The candles on the other desserts burned quietly. I sat down, folded my hands, and let the laughter pass like a storm over a quiet field. I didn't touch the replacement cake they offered, some store-bought thing her sister pulled from the fridge with a smirk. I didn't comment on the toast her father gave, praising his brilliant, accomplished daughter and the husband who supports her. I nodded. I smiled. I played along, but inside, something stopped bleeding and started sharpening. I thought of every time I'd covered for her overdrafts, every family trip I'd funded without thanks, every joke at my expense, every little reminder that I was lucky to be there. I wasn't lucky. I was used. After the plates were cleared and the music turned low, I stood by the window and watched the reflection of my wife laughing with her family. The same woman who once said she loved my quiet nature, who now weaponized that silence like a weakness. But I wasn't weak. I was patient. I checked my watch. 9:42 p.m. my birthday, the last one I'd ever spend with any of them. I walked back to the table, kissed my wife's cheek soft, mechanical, and thanked everyone for coming. They cheered like nothing had happened, like the man who'd been humiliated wasn't already drifting out of reach. That night, I didn't cry. I made a list. I made a plan. And for the first time in years, I felt something close to power settle in my chest like a secret fire. The party was dying down when I got the message. Guests were gathering their coats, wine glasses still half full, laughter still echoing faintly down the hallway. My wife was standing at the door, hugging her aunt goodbye, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I glanced at the screen. One new message from Diane, her mother. "We've chosen to sever all contact. Stay away forever." No punctuation, just those 8 words. I stared at the message while my heart didn't even flinch. That was the part that surprised me, the lack of hurt. 5 years ago, it might have knocked the breath out of me. 2 years ago, it would have sent me spiraling, desperate to prove myself, to fix something I didn't break. But now it was confirmation. A diagnosis after a long list of symptoms. They never liked me. Not really. They liked that I was quiet, that I paid bills on time, that I nodded along. They liked that I didn't challenge their snide remarks or her constant jabs. I was a mirror they could laugh at without consequence. And now, with one birthday ruined and one cake on the floor, they had made it clear I wasn't part of their picture anymore. Good. I slid the phone back into my jacket and walked slowly into the kitchen. My wife was rinsing out champagne floats. She glanced up and smiled, the kind of smile that didn't touch her eyes. "You've been quiet tonight," she said. I opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, and closed it gently. "Tired, I guess." She dried a glass, then another, moving like a woman who had everything under control. "They really love you, you know," she added. "They were just messing around. Don't be so sensitive." I took a long sip and nodded. Of course, because now wasn't the time. Not yet. I stayed to more hours, helped clean up, carried the trash bags out, said polite goodbyes, even kissed her goodnight. But once she was asleep, I slipped into the office and powered up the computer. Loan documents, joint accounts, property titles. For years, I had managed everything financial. She called it boring. I called it leverage. That night, I printed every shared liability, every hidden asset, every transfer I'd made to keep our lives running. I didn't delete anything. I just organized it, labeled it, filed it, like a surgeon prepping for something clean and irreversible. She wouldn't see it coming, because in her mind, I was still the quiet husband, the pushover, the one who'd always stay, always bend, always forgive. She didn't know that while she mocked my silence, I was learning to weaponize it. The next day, I called the bank and asked about separating the joint credit line. A soft-spoken rep walked me through the process. My name off the car loan came next, then the utilities, then the business card she used just in emergencies. Every step was deliberate, quiet, legal. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I didn't give her a reason to look too closely because people like her only notice drama, and I had none to give. I gave her normal. I gave her routine. I gave her silence. But behind it, I was building a quiet avalanche. And when it hit, it wouldn't be loud. It would be complete. There was never a single explosion, just erosion. It started with small comments. You'd look better if you lost a little weight. Or you're lucky I know how to talk to people, said with a laugh. Said in passing. Said like love wrapped in sarcasm. Then came the financial jokes. She'd say, well, I married down so I wouldn't have to work too hard in front of friends. Or she'd joke that I made just enough to cover the boring stuff. Everyone laughed. I did too, the first few times, but a laugh given under pressure is still a wound. I kept track, not out of spite but survival. I started writing things down in a locked file on my computer. Small cuts.docx. Every comment, every time she turned a story around to humiliate me in public, every cold shoulder that followed a moment when I dared disagree. She called it a partnership, but it was always a stage play, and I was cast as the supporting role in a show that only she directed. When she said, one night after a family dinner, sometimes I wonder how much easier life would be if I didn't have to worry about you. I nodded. I smiled. I filed it away, because that was the moment I knew she wasn't just careless. She was calculated. And so I became calculated, too. I created backups of everything. Text messages, receipts, call logs, bank statements. I watched how she funneled money to her family under the table. I noted how her brother's failing landscaping business was always just barely saved by her emergency funds. I stopped confronting. I stopped reacting. I simply prepared. The day I gathered all the files into one sleek, black folder, I took a long breath. No adrenaline, no panic, just precision. I handed it to her one quiet morning while she was eating cereal. She opened it lazily, expecting something dull. Her face changed with every page. She looked up. You knew? I nodded. All of it. Then I left. No goodbye. No bags packed in front of her. I'd done that weeks earlier, storing things in a rental unit she didn't know about. I turned off the utilities in my name, closed my half of the accounts, canceled the cards. By sunset, I was already gone. What followed was a different kind of noise. Her brother messaged me 6 times in 1 hour. Missed calls from her mother, voicemails from her cousin's husband, accusing me of abandoning the family, as if I'd walked away from some precious inheritance. I blocked them all, one tap at a time. And that night, I slept. Really slept. First time in years. Weeks passed. I got new keys, a new apartment, a new number. The last time I checked the shared group chat before leaving it forever, someone had written, he was the only one keeping the roof up. We didn't even notice. Exactly. I wasn't just the quiet one. I was the foundation. And now they could all feel the cracks. My wife tried once more. One last message. I didn't think you had it in you. I didn't reply. She was right. I didn't have it in me. Not until she and her family built it there, one small cut at a time. Now I have nothing left for them. And everything left for me.